Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2020 Stakeholders Day. This has been a particularly difficult year because of the ravages of the pandemic. However, we hope that it will not cause much of a disruption to our activity, as it were. So it does give me a singular pleasure, and it is with a deep sense of pride that I stand before you today to appraise you once again of the tremendous strides we've undertaken to deepen our development goals as the CDT Company Community Development Trust. Today bears much significance as it brings to a close a journey of almost 13 years, 7 months for me personally. It is indeed an end of an era. Once again, I'm delighted to present you with the annual review of activities of the organization. But perhaps it will also be useful to go down memory lane to remind ourselves of the journey we've traversed over this period. I joined CDT Community Development Trust as a chairman in April 2007, following the Kumba Iron Ore Pangolin transaction of November 2006. Then it was a measly community development trust, funded through a trickle-down dividend of 8 million a year for 4 years. Today, as I depart the stage, this is a trust with 1.8 billion rand in cash, 400 million committed in funds towards project over the next 3 years, and an asset base of 6.4 billion. Having invested nearly 3 billion in community development projects spanning education, healthcare, welfare, humanitarian, and enterprise development. The year under review has been both exciting and challenging as we grappled with diverse projects and new challenges, both in project implementation and entrenching open and accountable community representation. Unfortunately, in the process, we've had to abandon outdated and dysfunctional partnership as we search for more community-based representations, also implementing direct elections of community representative trustees. The complexity of projects undertaken has also increased, stretching our resources and testing our ability to deliver meaningful community development projects in an efficient and timely manner. The decisions we made a few years ago in contracting a set of professionals to assist us with project management has come in handy and has enabled us to unlock project logjams, help us accelerate the delivery of projects, and thereby deepening community benefits. Our success has emboldened us to undertake more complex projects with multiple stakeholders. Although the period under review was challenging with the outbreak of the novel coronavirus that has disrupted community life, economies, and have wrought a widespread devastation the world over, we've been able to implement community interventions together with development partners, the Department of Health, to make a difference in the life of our beneficiary communities. It gives me a great level of satisfaction to report that we've increased our funding into basic infrastructure, particularly in health and education. Our investment in education has yielded over the number of years great results, as reflected in the ever-increasing percentage of pass for matriculants, particularly in the John Taolo district. We have also joined hands with a number of partners in trying to improve the educational outcomes of our communities. From the onset, education has always occupied a pride of place in our development trajectory, thereby increasing the possibilities of improving educational outcomes of the African child, while paying tribute to President Nelson Mandela's adage that education is the greatest leveler in society, capable of inspiring the child of a farm worker to satisfy the base curiosity of the human condition and achieve whatever they set their sight upon. Improved educational and learning outcomes are a fundamental prerequisite for human development. Education provides the surest path to uplift people out of poverty and provide hope to eliminate absolute poverty. Community participation remains a critical pillar of our partnership in development. Even as we re-engineered our organizational structures to more effectively mirror the financial pressures experienced by the mining industry because of tough economic conditions. While some continue to bemoan us having downsized our representative structures, we continue to source projects from beneficiary communities and to seek optimal cost structures to implement projects in a more cost-effective manner, thereby ensuring that we are able to spend more resources on actual projects that impact communities. Good corporate governance remains our lodestar and critical in our ability to implement the objectives of the trust deed. With minimal leakage and without cumbersome bureaucracy, SIOC CDT remains committed to ensuring that we continue our shared values of non-partisan distribution of the benefits intended by the founders of the trust. In this way, we will ensure that we leave an indelible mark in the development of communities and remain the envy of our detractors as we rally communities around a common goal. Today, we can proudly showcase men and women whose lives have been fundamentally touched and transformed by our collective endeavors. Those who have availed themselves of the opportunities and services of SIOC CDT will continue to be exemplary ambassadors in mapping a new path of mutual coexistence of mining companies and host communities. It has indeed been an honor and privilege for me to have led the trust in the past 13 years, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Board of Trustees, the management of Sishen's Iron Ore Company Community Development Trust, as well as our host communities. Without your cooperation, our achievement would not have been possible. While we acknowledge that we have faltered along the path and that we might not have started with a mutual understanding, however, whenever the road forked, we find each other along the same stream. That is the story of the human journey. I would also like to thank the board of Sishen Iron Ore Sishen Iron Ore Company and Kuba Iron Ore Company for making it possible for Sishen Iron Ore Community Development Trust to forge a new path in the relationship between mining houses and host communities. It now gives me a singular pleasure to introduce new trustees appointed in the last year. I heartily welcome Mas Chaba Mabilu, Moketsi Mutsisi, and the new incoming chairman, Mr. Llewellyn Delport. With those few words, Pula, I now hand over to Vusani Mali.
Thank you, Chairman, for the kind words. You will certainly be missed. This is our last stakeholder day together. I do hope that our paths will cross in the future, and I look forward to working with Mr. Delport. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first virtual stakeholder day. We have little experience with this. You know, we are used to the town hall setup where we stand in front of you and we engage in robust debate. But we are certain that this being our first, and in the current prevailing conditions that we have in lockdown and COVID-19, it's something that we have to get used to. I hope that it works out for everybody, and we are looking forward as a team to your feedback on how you've experienced this and whether the message is coming out clear and you're able to participate. We will be talking to one another in this fashion. We are doing this as well because we made a commitment that we will remain connected with our beneficiaries and we are accountable to you. And the purpose, therefore, of today is to report on the 2019 performance year. And where appropriate, we're going to compare the periods of 2019 and 2020. We're going to give a year-to-date and a forecast position. We're also going to talk about current issues, principally our COVID-19 response and how we have done. I'll talk about our plan, and we'll talk about how we are tracking the plan. And then also, as is customary, a few stakeholder issues that we need to report back to you. In the year 2019, we went through a process of just trying to refine our guiding principles. Some of you would know that we went through a process of tinkering with our trust deed to reflect our new operating model, which sees SIOC CDT as the implementing entity. With that came a new requirement to sort of align our mission statement, our vision, and our value statement. And also, we spoke about our community development strategy at length in the stakeholder day last year, and also our investment policy statement. So we had to come up with these new words, as you can see on the screen. And this defines how we as SIOC want to come across and how we want to commit to you, our beneficiaries, that this is what we are about. An interesting fact, for a while, we have been thinking that our beneficiary footprint in terms of lives was in the order of about 400-odd thousand. We have had a number of conversations with a lot of stakeholders, especially our colleagues from Kumba Iron Ore, and we've looked at census reports. We indeed are serving a community of the order of 600,000 lives. This confirms the added responsibility that we have to serve and to improve on our efforts to deliver an impact. What is also worth noting is that in the top right of the slide, you can see that Thabazimbi local municipality features very prominently. You will recall that the reason why SIOC was established by Kumba Iron Ore was to continue delivering community development post the life of mine of the three Kumba mines at the time. Now, Thabazimbi mine, as you know, ceased operating, at least from a Kumba Iron Ore perspective, in 2015. This is a manifestation of our commitment to the ideals of the trust deed. We have been busy in the Thabazimbi municipality since 2015, so 5 years in, and we are going to continue to deliver community development in Thabazimbi for the life of SIOC CDT, which outlives the operations of Kumba Iron Ore. Again, I just need to go back to our community development strategy. I spent quite a bit of time last year talking about this specific journey and what it means for us. In our social impact report, which I think will be uploaded on our social media platforms this evening, we do talk extensively about this. But just in a nutshell, we seek to implement initiatives as a development agency in partnership with our stakeholders that seeks to strengthen community household income post-mining by improving employability of the inhabitants of the household, mostly the youth, by catalyzing and improving entrepreneurship that sees the creation of jobs, that sees the strengthening of incomes for those homes that are entrepreneurs and for those that they employ, and also providing a shield and care for the vulnerable in our communities to shield them from shocks, as we have seen now with COVID-19. So in a nutshell, this is what defines what we seek to do from a community development point of view. There'll be more about this in the social impact report. Again, we encourage you to immerse yourself into that report and give us feedback about what it is that you see in there and that makes sense to you. Now we get into the financial aspect, which is of interest to a number of beneficiaries. I get asked all the time about, so what happened, how much money did you get? We are going to deal with it here. I just need to be to emphasize that we report on 2019 performance year, but we do provide detail on 2020 year-to-date position and focus, mostly the focus. This slide just summarizes the performance year 2019. You will see that group revenue, which is a combination of the dividend and investment returns, was 623 million. Of that number, we have an investment income specifically of 146 million, and our expenditure, which is admin expenditure and public benefit activities, which means what we spend on projects, on delivering the impact, and what we spend in activities that support the delivery of projects, is in that number. If you look carefully, you'll see that there's a slight drop from 2018. And there's a number of reasons for that, which I'll deal with in a later slide. You'll also see that our cash holdings went up significantly from 2018 by 374 million, which is largely the increase in the Kumba dividend. Our non-Kumba or SIOC Pty Ltd portfolio also grew year on year by about 700 million. And in there, we have a wide portfolio which includes fixed income bonds and listed equity. And we are going to talk about that in detail in the next slide. In this slide, you can see just the 2019 picture only. And there you have the income, which is 607 million, plus the 141, which is the investment income, giving us that total of 623. If you compare that to what we forecast for 2020, in fact, no, before we even got there, it's a jump of 55%. We need to acknowledge our gratitude, or sound out our gratitude to our donor for an excellent financial performance, which saw an increase in the dividend, which then also gives an uptick on our investment income, because some of that comes from our underlying investments as also cash. So we see a 55% increase from 2018 to 2019, which is pleasing. That also then translates to a cash balance of 1.4 billion at the end of 31 December. We are forecasting that we will probably have a cash balance of 1.3 billion at the end of this year. And that is a position that we need to drive very carefully. Okay, the slides are, we'll go to the next slide. Right. That's the correct slide. So just a little bit of detail on our underlying investments. We have an investment portfolio that spans those brands that we see. The Kathu Solar Park, which we concluded in 2015-16, I think, where we have 12.5%. We have our hotel. I'll talk about the valuation in a minute, but the numbers at the bottom reflect the valuation as at the end of December 2019, and the numbers in the middle reflect our percentages holding. Just a bit of color on the Kathu Hotel. In 2019, we went into a program to refurbish the hotel, and in doing so, we had to fund that, and we swapped out a loan that we had, a development loan with the IDC, and we then swapped it out for a Nedbank loan, and with that came a liability, which when shown in the books reflects at the end of December a negative valuation, but in truth, there is a structure, there is assets in there. It's just that from an accounting point of view, as at 31 December, we are not showing a positive valuation. It's because in that year, we had an event where we had to invest in the refurbishment and extensions. Some of you who have been to the hotel can see what a great improvement that we made there, but that came at a cost. And that cost is reflected in our books, hence the valuation. I also want to say that COVID-19, as you know, has impacted significantly in the industry, and we are now trying to work out new strategies to just keep, to nest the hotel back to health. I was there 2 weeks ago. I can see that our occupancies are coming up. So I'm hopeful that this time next year, we'll give you a different story and a different valuation. So we are going to now get to projects. What we are trying to do is to show from the income slide what then did we do with the money. In projects specifically, this is where now we deliver the impact. You do know that we have our project focus areas, which are education, and the chairman did talk about our strides in education. And I'm speaking specifically on what it is that we did for the year 2019. We spent about 42 million in education, which is 69 or 70% of our total expenditure, in healthcare, enterprise development, and social well-being. The total spend is the number of 61 million. Now, if you look at this relative to the income, which is in the order of 600 million, the picture does not look rosy, but I would like to remind you that what I said earlier, that 2019 saw management focus on planning and overhauling our strategy of what it is that we wanted to do. In consultation, of course, with our beneficiaries, you'll recall that we went through a journey of community engagements. We did the town hall meetings across the province to just try and crystallize what our focus areas should be. That then came up with what we termed the community development strategy, which then informed and confirmed our focus areas. Now, in that year, we were not really heavy on implementation because we spent a lot of time trying to prepare our plans. Yes, of course, come 2020, as we were taking off, COVID-19 hit us, so you'll see next year when we report, there will be a slight impact, but I'm certain that with the work that we've done, with setting up the clarity with our community development strategy and setting up the right kind of partnerships and working on our strengthening the bench with our capacity to deliver projects, we are going to see a pleasing result. There also is another point about legacy projects. Those that we speak to often know what we mean by legacy projects. In the Tabazimbi area, we had quite a number of legacy projects that we needed to execute. We had a few stakeholder challenges in 2019 that we have been able to, in the main, resolve. That also impacted on our ability to spend. So whilst the rand number is important, I think it needs to be looked at in context. The 61 million that you see here excludes the indirect project costs that look at activities that support the implementation of projects. For an example, project team salaries are not catered into here. They are lumped into what we call admin expenditure. But as I said, we're looking at making changes to this area going forward. So I'm just going to highlight a few of our achievements in 2019 in this area. Before we do that, I just need to remind you of what we said last year, that we want to move away from reporting purely on rand spend, and we need to then say to you what impact have we created. And in the reportage that we're doing in this area, we're going to point out what it is that we have done, what were we trying to achieve, how many lives were touched, and what was the result. So I'll just give you a few highlights of that. In the education space, training and skills development, we want to, for example, if you look at the slide, if you look at the left of the slide, we're talking about our grade 12 enrichment classes. In that environment, we touched in the 2019 year 1,200 learners. We delivered a 10% increase in the metric overall pass rate. And then we also delivered a 35.2% increase in the most important aspect, the bachelor passes, which is what enables our children to go on to the next journey of tertiary education. In ECD, we trained 25 ECD practitioners. 8 of those enrolled for NQF5, which is an important milestone for ECD. At the same college, we have 50 practitioners from JTG, and 25 of those enrolled for NQF5 at Custoda. We also touched grade R teachers from JTG, who then enrolled for NQF6 at NWU University and the like. So this slide demonstrates how we want to talk about our project achievement. I'm not going to talk about each and every number in there. This information is going to be available in the social impact report. Again, I would like for you to go through that, and we have a period where questions are going to be accepted, and we're going to have to deal with what it is that you want clarity on. But in summary, this is what we are achieving in the education space. I could go to another focus area, which is enterprise development and supplier development. In here, you can see that in our Tabazimbi hub, we supported 15 women-owned businesses. We funded 6 small medium enterprises and trained 480 small business people, and provided business development services to about 64 entities. We also, people from Tabazimbi will be aware of our efforts in entrepreneur development with the business in the box, and 18 outlets that we're operating in 2019, and this number is going to increase. In community health and well-being, we are very proud of our Riafola initiative, which is a flagship, and we have handed over 450 spectacles in our beneficiary areas. And with the upgrade of Northern Clinic, I think other than just fixing that entity, that institution to provide basic health services, we also are keeping track of our supplier development activities there. We've provided 7 local SMEs with opportunities and created 25 temporary jobs. We also in 2019 launched our corporate citizenship program, which we have termed KANAKO, which those that speak Tswana will know. It means on time. This is us as SIOC CDT reflecting on the fact that we are a corporate citizen. Yes, we are a community development trust charged with community development, but as a corporate and as a corporate citizen, we have to do a little bit more over and above our core mandate. And in doing this, we have been very careful not to duplicate our community development strategy and initiatives therein. What we try to do here is to increase the reach and increase the urgency of our response to shocks in vulnerable groups. So just as an example, we had a Mandela Day program in 2019. We went to Ranchville and we helped with refurbishing the Emmanuel Day Care Center. We delivered sanitary towels throughout the year to 621 female learners. And our Back to School program delivered shoes to 347 learners. Now, we are going to go into more detail on our achievements in this area in the social impact report. This just gives a flavor of what it is that we're doing. And again, would like to take feedback on our social media platforms and in our other engagement platforms so that we can get to understand how you receive our initiatives and activities and see the detail of it, because we're not reporting all of it in the slide. We are then, as I mentioned in the introduction, going to spend a bit of time talking about our response to COVID-19. As you know, this became a big phenomenon at the beginning of the year. It impacted us significantly. We started out with focusing on our employees and our beneficiaries. In response to the lockdown announcement by the president, we closed our offices and we did away with face-to-face community engagement activities just for the safety of our employees and yourselves. And then we sat down with our partners in the area and went to the detail of a plan. This plan of ours was aligned to the provincial response and the resolutions coming out of this multi-sector working groups in the Northern Cape and in the Tabazimbi area. Those working groups included our colleagues from Kumba Iron Ore, other mining entities, and our participation in the joint operation centers. SIOC, I personally attended one in Tanzabane, and that sort of set the scene for what was a benchmark or best in breed of COVID response in the region. So that informed our plan, and our plan really cut across 4 important areas: primary prevention of infection, detection and case finding, which Kumba Iron Ore did quite a lot in, with the supply of infrared thermometers and PCR testing machines, some of which are still in the process of being accredited by NHLS. We also had focused on capacitating the Department of Health with getting just preparedness and readiness for treatment of COVID-19 cases. And we also, in our 4th focus, was support for the vulnerable. And in here, we talk about provision of safe havens, food parcels, and the like. So the next slide then talks about, it's quite a busy one, but it just goes into a little bit of detail. We broke our response to 2 phases. The first phase was in March to August 2020. And in there, we started out with, like I said, the safety of our employees, social distancing. And then we had, and you will recall this, the call for food security, addressing issues of food security. And in there, we were quick off the mark in partnership with our donor and the the department and the province. We went into overdrive with food parcels. I think we delivered about 5,000 food parcels across our footprint. And then we also focused on supporting our healthcare workers by providing personal protective equipment, or PPE. And that PPE scenario, we would have read quite extensive reports of some malfeasance in that area. We were quite strict with our supply chain and auditing processes, which had an unintended consequence of delaying some of our delivery in there. But we made sure that we're very careful with the trust fund, and we eliminated all forms of leakage, and we made sure that we can account for each and every cent that we spent in this area. This is ongoing as we are in the midst of, or in the throes of a second wave. So we are going again into, I'll describe this again when we talk about phase 2. We also contributed to the resourcing of testing and isolation centers. In Kuruman Hospital, we donated units that added additional high care and ICU beds to ensure that that facility is able to cater for the treatment of those infected with COVID-19. We also have done something similar for Tshwaragano Hospital in Batlaros. And there are other initiatives in the Tabazimbi area that are aimed at improving the capacity of the department, of the district department. Phase 2 sees us continuing heavily on PPE drive. You can see the amount that the board has allowed us to spend is in the order of 42 million. We are chipping away at this steadily, of course, with our careful approach, ensuring that we eliminate any chance of leakage or malfeasance. So we focus to spend 42.6 million in that. Social well-being, we may well come back to that because I'm not sure if food security has been addressed sufficiently, but we're forecasting that we'll spend another 500,000 in there. In phase 2 also, we saw an opportunity to revive a number of our education projects. Maybe just to bring some color in there, you will be aware that the opening of schools went into a phased approach. So we had to devise strategies to provide digital learning opportunities. We saw us purchase hardware and also influence the provision of bandwidth for our learners to consume digital content. There we're spending an order of 5.2 million. And we also quite recently announced a response aimed at our entrepreneurs that were also impacted by COVID-19. We launched the Relief Fund with the National Empowerment Fund, NEF. We launched, I think, at the end of October. The window was open and applications have come in. That initial fund is a total of 9 million, with NEF also contributing. It's a pilot, if I am allowed by the team to say that, and we look at increasing our activity in that area, because in our engagement with our business stakeholders, it became clear that part of what is required is assistance with funding so that people can stabilize their businesses and resuscitate those businesses that were taken out. We are now in lockdown level 1, so there has been an increase in commercial activity, but then a lot of business people are finding themselves out of pocket without capital. So this is what we want to address. I'm now going to go to maybe a backward and forward-looking part of our discussion. We have identified 4 important issues that we grappled with in 2019. A lot of them have spilled into 2020. The first one on the left, number 1, was quite a significant challenge by our SME community in Tabazimbi and also in the Northern Cape, specifically in Olifantshoek, where local business people are saying, look, we need procurement opportunities. What is it that you are doing to be inclusive? And we have refined our procurement policy to be able to be deliberate and focused on inclusion. In Olifantshoek, you'll know that we have a low-cost housing project that has been long in the coming, and we are designing an inclusive contractor development process, which will see the spread of that contract for the 90 houses in there to include as many local entrepreneurs as possible. The second issue, which is a burning issue, well, was a burning issue, is not anymore, is a Jomrolong road construction project. You know that SIOC CDT has been involved in discussion with the Department of Roads and Public Works regarding the road to Legacy Village, which we had started in 2015 and completed that part. Now we're in discussions with our partners in the department to conclude that. The board of SIOC CDT approved an amount in November 2019, to conclude this project, and we have been in extensive conversation with our stakeholders, mainly the department and the road forum, to just iron out the details of how the progress, the management of this project should be. I'm glad to announce today that I met with the MEC 2 weeks ago, and we have agreed on all of the residual issues, and we are going to be concluding funding agreement in the coming week, which will see us ready to start. She has confirmed that whilst the part of the department budget was taken up with the urgent COVID-19 response, she will do all in her power to ensure that when SIOC CDT funding is exhausted, the department is ready to take over and complete. So on that basis, we are going to sign. So this is quite a positive development, and I'm sure that in the new year, we'll be breaking ground with this project. The third issue to do with the postponement of the filling of community representative trustee vacancies on the board of SIOC CDT. You will recall the tragedy that befell us around this time last year with the demise of the Khamahara representative trustee, which then resulted in that vacancy remaining open and a vacancy for Tsantsabane. We came into 2020, we had COVID, and we didn't know now how to conduct these elections, because obviously with social distancing and the inability to have physical contact then meant that we had to rethink what we were going to do here. So we went through a survey process, which you'll be aware of, and thanks to those that participated in this survey, we have proposed to our board an approach that will see a hybrid of online or digital or virtual and physical activities that will then lead to the appointment, the nomination and voting for the Khamahara and the Tsantsabane trustees. We would think that where we are now, we should be able to start this process in the new year, in the first quarter. We are in the process now of procuring service providers to assist us with that. We will be informing you in our usual format in our social media platforms. The last issue is a new one, which as a result of not being able to come to you and talk to you as we prefer, we've now had to deal with using platforms like today to engage with our communities, because at the center of what it is that we do, stakeholder engagement rests. It is important for us to be able to have ongoing conversations with our beneficiaries to refine what it is that we do. So we were faced with significant technical challenges with this, because obviously the penetration of bandwidth in the Northern Cape specifically is not where would allow everybody to have access to internet, to be able to consume live feeds on Facebook and what have you. So we've had to work really hard to get to platforms that help. We have had some success with a partnership with Kurara FM that sees us have weekly talk shows where we come and speak to you via the radio medium on current issues and what we're doing at SIOC CDT, and we have an exchange. And we are quite grateful that you are participating, and we're getting to maintain the conversation. So we're really happy with this particular platform, and we are very grateful to Kurara FM for allowing us that space to be able to communicate. We are going to duplicate that in Tawazimbi and see how we can improve our reach to be able to continue engaging with our stakeholders, to get feedback from today and other initiatives that we are involved in. We have these platforms. Most of them are well known to our stakeholders. Our website, we have our active Facebook page, we have our Twitter feed, and email. Now, these platforms are open for you to send questions immediately. So we'll take a 5-minute break, and we're taking the 5-minute break, we'll play a video. During that 5-minute break, please send in your questions on this presentation that I've just made, and maybe what the chairman has spoken about, and then we'll be able to then collate all of that and respond after the 5 minutes, and then we'll then be able to then take other platforms. I think there's a webcast, and there's also a phone in for questions. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. We're going to play a 5-minute video, and then, sorry.
Sorry, Basani, can I just make the announcement just for those numbers? If people want to dial in and ask a question before the after the video, they can dial 011-581-2030 or 011-966-6370. Those numbers one more time: 011-581-2030 or 011-966-6370. Those on the webcast can also type in their questions at the bottom of the video while the video plays. Thanks very much.
Thank you for that. We look forward to engaging with you.
My name is Ropiwa Rabumbulu, coordinating primary health care in Tawazimbi municipality.
Emmanuel Maroro Momaramani.
My name is Floyd Tumpulukeng, working for Love Life. I am from Richie, a town near Kimberley. I'm currently serving as the youth center manager here in the Bay for the project that's funded by SIOC CDT for the Dibeng Youth Center.
My name is Katibele. I'm an optometrist in Tawazimbi Hospital.
My name is Namesa Cholo, born and bred in Ditapon.
Maitemogelo a ka mo pholong ya me ke le itlhela ke na le bothata mabapi le go bala kgotsa ha ke tsenya matlakala sekai. Ha ke tsenya matlakala sekai dinomoro tse di sa bonagale ka mokgwa o siameng ke bona go le go shouyela. La ke tsenya time ka tshoganyetso ga ke sa kgone go bona sewa. Mme maitemogelo a ka gape ke le ke a bona ha ke le ko medicaleng wa mmereko mo e leng gore ke sa kgone go bona sekgalanyana se le ha banna dipalonyana tse gore ke di bone ba netefatsa gore ga ke bona sentle kgotsa ga ke bone sentle.
Our infrastructure is very small to accommodate all the patients visiting this clinic.
SIOC is the type of a bursary that checks up on their student. Ba go tlhola ba check out how is the environment for you, and also ba go founela ba go bolella gore are you okay, are you surviving, our cope with the pressure and everything.
We had a problem with having a backlog of patients waiting for their spectacles.
SIOC CDT helped Northern Clinic with the construction of a new clinic and the renovation of the existing building to accommodate the community of Northern.
SIOC CDT, in partnership with Love Life, then agreed to go into an agreement for them to establish this youth center with the main custodian, which is Hamahara municipality, who actually identified this problem.
Receiving stipend from SIOC decreased the burden on my parents because I now had the money I could also assist at home.
The machine being bought for us at the Department of Optometry, it really helped a lot because now patients are not waiting for a long time to get their spectacles like before.
As a Department of Health, we are happy about the construction of new clinic because we were only having 3 consultation rooms in Northern Clinic. Now we are going to have more consulting room. The patient and the client in Northern Clinic, they are going to spend less time in the clinic because we are going to have more consultation.
Clinic ya tsena mo lefapheng la pholo ya bona thuso mo tlase ga lefapha la pholo mo tlase ga dithuso tse di tlisiwa ke ba lefapha ba re boletse re ba ntse dithuso tseo mme ra di lebogela batho ba ntse ba kgonne go bona gonne pholo ya matlho ke yone ne se itekanela ke a leboga.
I feel most people should apply for SIOC because they are true, honestly. They cover all the parts of student life. They also came to the graduation about to check out and then they took pictures.
To SIOC CDT, we are happy about the construction of our state-of-art clinic. We can't wait to move to our new clinic.
Thank you so much, because if it wasn't for SIOC CDT, I'm not sure if I was going to be able to know that I'm able to cut the spectacles and give them to a patient, and patient becomes so happy after my doings. So thank you so much to SIOC.
SIOC CDT, Kubanemba University, Kubanemba College, you are doing a very good job. I had